Well, today we have Andrew back from EMP Shield, and if you've missed it and don't know about them, they're veteran owned and they're 100% American made. So that makes you want to listen in. But it has been heavy on our minds the last couple of days, Anita and I, because there are some different things going on around the globe right now. We thought that you really needed to revisit this and get you an EMP Shield. And one of the reasons is lightning protection. You might not understand the EMP Shield itself, but this is something that everybody needs, because if lightning comes into your home without this shield, it's just going to fry your panel and start a fire. And that's basically it. Bottom line. Correct, Andrew?
That's correct. And lightning, I don't have all the statistics on it yet for the year, but what we've been hearing from customers and from other folks is that lightning has been pretty extreme this year. Not exactly sure why, but it has been very extreme, and it's going to continue to be at that level is what we're understanding. So it is a threat, and it's something a lot of people I think we have over 40 million people that have been exposed to our products, at least to our brand, in the last 18 months. What a lot of people don't know about EMP Shield is one of the side consequences of what the device does is it does offer 100% lightning protection for the home, which is incredible for its price point and for the warranty we offer. Which basically the warranty says that we guarantee the lightning protection, and it gives you a 10-year warranty with $25,000 of insurance. If the device doesn't do what we say it will do, we will cover the repairs. So
and that has yet to have happened, right?
That's correct.
But you have had homes that were hit by lightning with
yes,
homes
we've had
that were not protected with the EMP Shield, and what a difference. Correct?
That's right. And there's, we've had over 30 homes get hit in the last year. And if you go on YouTube or online, you'll see many testimonials that we didn't ask for. They just wanted to go out and say, hey, look, we got hit by lightning. One of the more unique ones is we had a townhouse with two separate sections get hit. And it got hit and protected both sides of the condominium and also the transformer out on the grid. They actually had to do an investigation because they couldn't figure it out. And then the owner's like, well, I have EMP Shield. Is that why? And they're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. After, they interviewed us and we talked about it. So, yeah.
Well, let me tell you guys and gals who have your own businesses, everybody has their own residence where they're living at. You definitely need to protect yourself from lightning in your home. But what about in your office? I know a lot of business owners personally that watch this channel. Get your businesses, your office, you've got so much riding on it. You've built this for a long period of time. We don't want you to lose it for no reason whatsoever, right? You're going to have to replace everything electrical, basically. All your computers, your cell phones, whatever you had plugged in when that happened, you're done. You're done. You'll have to start over. You also need to protect your vehicles with the EMP Shield. But I know Andrew's got a short period of time. Anita and I can loop back around to that. I want to talk about a solar flare event that I just heard about, and I could not find it online, but I figured you would know about it, Andrew, which is why I said, can you come? I wanted you to educate us. What is a solar flare? Did something happen recently? Listen, guys, audience here, the EMP Shield protects you from everything. It's all you know about is lightning. You need it, and you need it now, because this weird, wacky weather is proving you need to do something with that. But after we talk about solar flare, I want Anita to talk about EMP and something she saw in the news in July and ask you about that. So
sure.
Take it over, Andrew. Tell us about solar flare. Did anything happen here recently? Does anything seem to be coming up, going on? What do we need to do?
So, and just so you know, at work, I've been incredibly busy the last 2 weeks, but here's what I am aware of that recently occurred is we had a very large solar flare in the last couple of days, very closely missed the Earth. And this isn't the first time this has happened. It happened again a few years ago. My understanding is we're currently in a solar minimum, which is about to go headed back towards a solar maximum, which means that flares are going to begin coming off the sun at a more rapid pace. And they are saying that because we've missed a major solar flare, major being like the Carrington event, 1859, we are becoming due for another hit of the Earth from a more major solar flare. There's no idea when or where this might happen. What they do know is it will eventually happen. They just don't know when. It could be next year, next month, or 10, 20, 30 years from now. We don't know, but we do know it eventually is going to happen. which is why it's important to get yourself protected, and also why we're working to protect the grid now from GMD, CME, which is a solar flare. So it is a threat to the earth, and we just nearly got hit by one, and it would have been pretty devastating. So yeah.
That's right. So I know a lot of people, just like me. I think it was I was watching Marfugel News. Thank you so much, Adam, because never even heard about solar flares. If I did, I wasn't really paying attention. But I'm saying, kids, y'all need to learn about this. Look it up. A lot of parents, there's stuff going on that the parents don't even know what this is. Get together and look it up. See what's going on. See why they're saying it's going to happen. We're due. We're past due. We got more stuff coming. One nearly got us. How to protect yourself. Well, that's what we're here to do, is to get you educated, but also get you protected. And that's what you need the EMP shield for. Lightning, solar flares, and let's also talk about EMP protection. If you can just give us like 2 or 3 sentences, what is an EMP event and what it can do to your home, and then Anita's going to show you what she found.
Well, so an EMP can be caused by multiple things, but to keep this short, primarily what we're considering to be a man-made EMP event would be a nuclear weapon going off in the atmosphere. We learned about this back in the 60s. They were doing testing over Hawaii, and basically what an EMP is it's a nuclear weapon detonated above the atmosphere that shoots the gamma radiation from that blast towards the atmosphere. And when the radiation and the matter that follows it passes through the atmosphere, it creates a thing called ionization. And without getting too nerdy, all it really means is because of the effects of these things happening in the atmosphere, freed electrons are stripped from the atmosphere and shot towards the Earth in phases. And they're shot, it's large amounts of voltages. 50,000 volts per square meter is what we assume, although some of these are changing. We're working with the government to change some of the stuff. But right now, the standard is that we believe it to be about 50,000 volts per square meter that are shot in the E1, which is in nanoseconds, and then the E2, which is in microseconds, inducing into everything that's a conductor across the grid, to include your house. It'll go straight through the structure of your house, into your home's Romex wiring, into your devices, into everything simultaneously. So the key takeaway from an EMP event is that it will destroy anything that includes microelectronics for the E1 and the E2, and the E3 portion, which is the magnetosphere fluctuating from the blast, that will have a negative impact on the grid and potentially your house if you don't have protection in your house, and it could cause meltdowns of certain portions and certain devices within the grid that are critical to keeping the power running. So
yeah, my heart breaks thinking of all of these people like me, but now I know that have heard about this for years. We even have a family member, a member in our family actually has a vehicle that has no electronics and did that on purpose, right?
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
And guess what? They're from the military, so they're saying,
Go figure.
have something like that in the family, something that can run. But yeah, if you know about this, don't put this off any longer. We just had a solar flare. We will have another one, and another one, and another one. The lightning is crazy. Denver's been having dry lightning. That's been crazy. I know everybody watching this knows how crazy the weather is and unpredictable. And clouds just come out of nowhere. Or here's a storm path and all of a sudden it changes directions. And if you get hit with any of these and you are not protected, you're going to look back and feel like, I knew this could happen.
Well, if
you
don't
can
mind,
do it less than a copay.
If you don't mind me caveating on that, one of the questions I get a lot when they realize it's lightning protection is they say, well, I have an insurance policy. And I want people to start thinking the right way. The right way is you don't want to have to file the claim, pay the deductible, wait 6 to 9 months for everything to be reimbursed or fixed, right? That's a large chunk of your life and a lot of money. Your deductible is probably going to be $500 or $600, right?
Yep.
Our device averages around $300 to $350 a unit. It'll stop that. It's basically cheaper than your deductible, and we did that intentionally because it's going to save you from having to do all of those things, if that makes sense.
I think it's even more than that. If you think about what's in your home, and a lot of people are officing from home right now.
Right. Yes.
Storing things properly, not backing them up on a hard drive. Then again, speaking about myself, just saying.
You should probably do that.
But it's like, what are you going to lose?
Yes.
That insurance really, I mean, the time and energy and all the furniture you could lose and your photos and everything, it's, let me tell you, you don't want to go through that. This is the easiest thing in the world to take care of it in a snap. So easy. Now I'm going to let Anita move on to more of the EMP and what she found. Because listen, if an EMP is a weapon and it already exists, I'm not going to go into who's using it on who, but we know it's a weapon. We know everybody's been preparing for how to protect ourselves, our cities, our states, our countries, worldwide. Everybody's been preparing for this, and you're just not paying attention. So if a weapon exists, I think you need to get prepared. Anita, what did you find?
Thanks, Tony. Good afternoon, Andrew. I want to just say that I've been doing a lot of research on this. The first articles I saw on this science, this is not just theory any longer. This is totally scientifically proven, and it is exceeding military grade requirements. I found that amazing. So 2004 was the very first article that I wrote that was written. It was actually like a white paper in the science world that explained this. And we've had numerous times, 2012, 2016, 2019, where different entities who are aware of the danger that lies here are saying, okay, we better get ready. So when you're talking about the grid, a lot of people, if they didn't hear about it on mainstream media, they think it could just be smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Well, I'm going to share an article with you that is quite interesting that talks about something, kind of the rattling sabers that have been going on. And in this very eclectic time for power grab, control, monetary control, market share, world commerce, something much bigger than any kind of sanctions going on. Let me share this article. Hang on. I need to go ahead and have screen share. It's disabled at the moment. Tony?
You got it?
There we go. So, China, kind of a popular little place these days, has first strike capability to melt the U.S. power grid with electromagnetic pulse weapons. What I understand about this is there's about 5 key places that they struck in the United States. They can take down the entire United States power grid and basically melt it.
Yes, that's correct.
As you read through this article that was actually published June 25th, if you want to reference that, 2020, basically they're saying this is really a scary thing because they've got ballistic missile development program. They've got the most advanced one in the world. And so this is not kind of a fairy tale.
No. Yeah, and a couple things on this, and I like how you kind of caveat, or you gave the context in the beginning. This is not something that's from a sci-fi book. If you just even look at the article, this is written in Forbes. This article mentions Dr. Peter Pry, who is a very critical figurehead on our country's EMP defense. The country's got set aside for billions and billions of dollars now after the pilot program that we are working on gets approved. Then that money will go towards protecting the grid. But part of the driver to get this done quickly is one of them, and I won't go into all of them, and I don't know if I can anyways, but one of them is the threat from not just China, but other countries developing super EMP technology is kind of what we refer to it as. So basically, if you've got a normal nuclear weapon that goes off in the atmosphere at 50,000 volts per square meter, super EMPs can be 100 to 200,000 volts per square meter and be directional in certain areas instead of just blasting all over the place. This is incredibly An EMP in and of itself is already incredibly dangerous to the grid. A super EMP makes it that much worse. When you combine that with the increases in technology on the speed of missile capability, so hypersonic and even faster type missiles, and the introduction of new satellite technologies that may or may not include defense weapons or attack weapons from countries that are not our friends, there is a large threat, EMP being one of them. So absolutely, it could be detrimental.
And you know, Andrew, one of the interesting facts in this article that I just referenced, as people can go back and look at that, is that these transformers that they can take out with those devices, they weigh like 400 tons. And it takes them 2 years to build one. So it's not like if they take one out, you're just going to go get one off the shelf and plug it in. It's not a plug and play thing. We're talking something that runs regions of the power grid. And so this is, and you, by the way, each one of those little plug and play things costs about $7 million a piece. And so we're talking about a substantial loss here. But now, if you're thinking, well, you know, I've never heard of this happening. A lot of times people have this theory, right? They believe in floods when they've been through one. They believe in earthquakes when they've actually been shaken and quaking. You don't want to wait to experience this to believe whether this is possible. Now, I want to talk about why is there an application? Because I think it's amazing as I've been learning with you. And as a scientist, I could talk about this stuff for hours, and I know we have a limited time. How this actually affects calibrated equipment, electric grids, vehicles, electronic management systems, air traffic control towers, airplanes in the air. Let's just do a little quick scenario. You're flying a plane and an EMP is fired. What could it do to that airplane? Because not all airplanes are meant to be gliders. Remind yourself of that.
Yes, when it's unique, an EMP is unique because, like I mentioned before, it has this free electrons that are induced into everything simultaneously. So should the airplane be underneath where this EMP or super EMP occurs, it is going to induce those electrons. And as we know with modern aircraft, they're not props. They're using turbine engines that are driven by microelectronics and computer systems inside the cockpit and across the plane. Without those, like you mentioned, without those electronics, a lot of these aircraft are not capable of remaining in a glide pattern. So it could be incredibly life-threatening to the crew if it's not a plane that has a system in place for it to be able to continue to at least safely go down towards the earth without that technology inside. So that's the first thing. You know, and you talked about the grid. When you're dealing with a super EMP or even an EMP, the grid, imagine the grid like an antenna, because that's exactly what it serves as. It is a very large antenna with hundreds and hundreds of miles of that antenna to collect this electricity. And by the way, when you're talking about these, you have the induction and the build and charge across the grid in hundreds of miles can occur for up to hours. And that's why it's so the E3 is so detrimental to the grid, is because it's this large antenna that can build this significant charge and this very significant heat, which damages these things, like the incredibly expensive transformers and substations, and very, very unique things that are involved with some of the technologies that help us get the power that we get and that we don't really think about right now. It just comes to our house and we don't understand everything that's involved with getting the power, and that can be destroyed through this large antenna collecting the electrons from the EMP. So yes.
So this is a major thing that we really have not addressed on a global scale, economic scale, a security scale. At any given time during the peak time of the day, there's about 5,000 airplanes in the sky at any given moment.
Right.
Globally, 5,000. And there's places you can go and look at the radar of all the planes. You can do that with all the ships of the world. You know, you can do, there's air, land, and sea tracking of particular vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
where those are all trackable. So if you're a business person, or if you're a doctor, you're a dentist, or you're a scientist, or you are a teacher, maybe you are a business person, it's not so much about the deductible at this point. If you lose your capability to access your data, and maybe your data gets completely destroyed, your equipment is wiped out. And if we have some kind of a major occurrence go on, how many refrigerators are available in your current town to be replaced? How many stoves? It's not like everyone's going to be able to just run down and get themselves another bag of potato chips here, because we're talking wiring within your offices, your warehouses, your residents, your vehicles, and thus I have protected all of those things as a scientist, as a consumer, and as just a smart person at this point, because I see, I mean, the plethora of, it would disable my life.
Yes.
And you cannot proceed to, regardless of what happens, and some people are like, well, you know, if this happens, the fact that my phone doesn't work is least of my concerns. And I'm like going, well, the thing is, there's some things that will be disabled temporarily in that kind of a situation. And because, would you explain a little bit about how this technology is very unique, that it protects two ways? Because most of them, kind of like a surge protector on my desk here, I've got one, surge protector battery backup, that allows me to blow monitors periodically. Not sure how that happens, but why is this so unique?
Yes. So we designed the technology with EMP in mind. And to kind of explain a little bit like I did before, an EMP, as I said, is coming in simultaneously. So that means it's going into the grid, and then the grid's going into your home, and it's also going straight into your home all at the same time. So what the device is able to do, and it has to do this in order to protect, is one, look in both directions. It has to look out towards the grid, and it also has to look inwards towards your house, looking for rises in voltage at very, very fast speeds. Because like I said, the E1's in nanoseconds, the E2's in microseconds. To be able to combat those simultaneous inductions in both directions is you have to have a device that's fast enough to pull that voltage through the system before the heat can generate, which is what the EMP shield does. So military standard says about, I believe, 20 nanoseconds to begin shunting and continuously shunting over a 200-foot span of space, and that's technically military standard. We do it in 500 trillions. So 200 nanoseconds, 500 trillions, which is half a nanosecond, is where ours begins shunting or switching, and continuously does it at that speed to dump that energy to the ground instead of, and then for the E3, what you've got basically is you have the E1 and the E2 simultaneous induction. The E3 is straight coming from the grid because your house is a small enough antenna that it doesn't have those miles and miles to build that charge. So what we learned is if we can kick the main breaker on your house, we are not allowing the grid to come into your house, which is going to be detrimental. So E1 and E2, we're taking it and pushing it to ground, and then E3 is we're disrupting the ability for that to come in from the grid, and the device does that for your house.
And when we are talking about these events, generally, as we're talking about this in a warfare or a intention to harm a country, they're not going to come in with one impulse. It's going to be impulse after impulse, and I'm sure that you can talk about, you did some repeated testing on this. It wasn't a one and done thing, right? I think it was up to like 40 times, and you stopped at 40 times?
Yeah, so we did military standard 1.8, 125.1, which is one of many tests we did. But with that testing, we hit it 42 times, I believe. And at 42, we said, okay, that's enough. But something I do want people to understand from an educational perspective is you actually cannot have simultaneous EMPs one after another. And that's because you need the atmosphere to recharge before anything else can occur again. You can do them simultaneously. You could do one and then the next day do another, but you do need to give it a little bit of time for the atmosphere to recharge. And I always am a little cautious saying that because bad guys can be listening too, but I would presume if they have EMP technology, they are already aware of this. So
So this is and we are educating. Totally and I we educate people as to what is this topic, because most people really, it's not a field they've ever heard about.
Right.
Most people we talk to, it's completely Greek. They've never considered it. They've got health insurance, life insurance, but they don't have any kind of electrical assurance. So this is a time for us to get educated as to why this is your passion. This is what you do. And as part owner in this technology, you really do want to provide a remedy.
Yes, absolutely.
For mankind, really.
Yes, and a lot of people don't know this. We are primarily a government contractor. We do offer civilian products, which are available online. But that is not, it's a focus, and our goal is to help everybody that is wanting to be protected from this. And we offer military certified solutions, but we primarily are focusing on those grid solutions as well, which we talked about before, because if the grid goes down, the country could potentially go down, and it could be down for 10, 20, 30 years even if you don't have a distribution system, because of the damage of vehicles and the ability to get parts and repair. And so, yeah, we're kind of looking in both directions, both government and civilian. And, EMPshield.com is our website.
And
people
it's
should
made
go
in
check
America.
it out.
And it's made in America, right, Andrew? Yeah.
Yes.
We're not shipping even a bolt in from somewhere else. Everything comes from your manufacturing design. And
yes, we build it all right here in Kansas. Go to our Facebook. We just took a new company photo. There's about 35 of us, and we're all smiley faced, but we build it right here next to a cornfield in a $3 million production facility. So
and one beautiful thing that Andrew and EMP Shield is doing for you guys, if you use the promo code TotallyT, TotallyT, I'll put it in the description box below. But if you use that promo code, you get $50 off each device. Sit down, talk with your family. What's going to be your priority? Is it a vehicle? Is it a house? It should be both, but I understand financing. But definitely, oh my gosh, if you got a business,
right,
you got to protect that. You've got a lot of equipment in there. And you got all those vehicles, probably several vehicles. How are you going to start from scratch? So we appreciate being able to offer that discount. We're going to do our part in protecting what we can on our end. But Andrew, thank you to you and your team for working on the grid. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Pause. Andrew, can you talk about people who have got multi-family dwellings?
Yes.
Because we've talked about individual, homes or businesses. For the business person who has multi-family or multi-office, there's some more elaborate type systems that you have for that, correct?
Yes. It was okay. Are you talking about? So I'm assuming. I think your question is if you've got 2 or 3 units, right, on one floor, as an example.
Correct.
So the way we always explain it to the customer is you probably want to get the protection one for each meter. The reality is, like we talked about in that condominium, it actually protected by going up through the transformer and then back down into a different line, protecting the other side. So technically, this is where we say each meter, because we want to make sure the warranty is covered. But technically, one device could potentially protect all of those, and we've seen it a couple times in the past where it did, and because they were somehow connected through a different method. So it could, but we do recommend one per meter to ensure 100% that protection for each electrical 120/240 electrical system.
Okay, great. And as far as like large manufacturing facilities, those are conversations. If people have those kind of situations, they can just give you a call and address that as a customer service question, correct?
Yeah, a good example of that is we're doing a drilling rig out in the Arctic, near the Arctic. And we had to get specs because they're like, it's like a small city. And we're like, holy cow, it is like a small city. So some of those more complex ones, we have to actually get like line diagrams and the voltages. Like for this one, they're running DC to power the drill and all the stuff. So we just need to know what it is, and we can absolutely protect it. Yeah.
So various, whether it's building solar systems, generators, all of those electric things,
Right.
You have some solutions for them. And this is just the beginning of our journey together, learning about all the amazing solutions that you're going to be bringing to the world.
Right. Yeah.